The American horror film Eli was released in 2019. You'll appreciate this video more if you've seen the movie, but regardless, I do intend for this to stand alone. I'm not a film critic and this is not a review, and I will be spoiling everything, so you have about 5 seconds to decide what you want to do with your life right now. So the movie's been described as Bubble Boy meets Rosemary's Baby. There's a family and they stay at an old house that's been converted into a medical facility especially designed for children like Eli, who has a rare autoimmune condition that requires him to wear a bubble suit at all times, and it ends with a twist where it turns out that Eli is actually the son of the devil. But beneath the surface of the film, there are two other very important elements. The first is the film's identification of good and evil, and the second is the film's implicit moral landscape. Now, what's ultimately being depicted in the film is a struggle between the Abrahamics, Christians, Jews, Muslims, and Satanists, or humanists, but the specific iterations of these ideas are not perfect nor definitive. Regardless, it couldn't more clearly depict these opposing camps if they had given all of Team Satan literal devil horns while showering Team Jesus in rosaries. This is something to be expected from a film that aims to play with moral gray areas, but this is not such a film. It's black and white, and there's no punches pulled. Abrahamic morality is revealed, while satanic morality is discovered. This is why one is associated with traditions literally revealed from generation to generation, while the other is associated with progress. The former necessitates moral or ethical outsourcing, trusting an authority to determine right from wrong on your behalf, where one is a passive moral agent that is having the rules revealed to them. The satanic moral worldview affirms one's own agency and responsibility, appropriate for a film whose central theme is lies, their impact, and liars being punished. With the sole exception of the rude folks at the motel in the first scene, every character with spoken lines is a liar. Eli's mother and father represent satanic lies and Abrahamic lies, respectively. The satanic lie is literal. The devil literally lied to Eli's mother when he pinky sweared that her child would turn out normal. She is hiding this, and Eli's condition is an elaborate ruse that she concocted. The second character important to the satanic perspective is Haley, who is eventually revealed to be a child of the devil, like Eli. She doesn't like the name Eli because it's Abrahamic, reinforced later by the fact that his name turns out to be the code to Dr. Horn's office. Now, she prefers the name Houdini because magic is satanic, reinforced by the fact that her magic trick was real. So between Rose and Haley, the movie's Team Satan is reactive yet decentralized. Now, it's not clear how much his actual father knows. It's revealed later that he is jealous of his wife's love for Eli, and although it doesn't seem to be determined conclusively whether or not he knows that Eli is not really his son, this would explain why he is so committed to Dr. Horn's plan. He may only be aware of the symptoms and Dr. Horn's promises. From this perspective, there's something wrong with Eli that he doesn't understand, and Dr. Horn can help him remove it, so he told Rose that the treatment has never failed in order to get her to go along with it. The Abrahamic perspective is far more thoroughly enshrined in Dr. Horn, whose entire medical facility is based on a lie. She is wholly committed to an ends justify the means approach to ethics that will endorse potentially any evil in the service of eliminating an alleged greater evil. Team Jesus is initiative and highly organized. All of this is reinforced when we then consider the film's general moral landscape. Many stories tend to match what I will call an Abrahamic moral worldview. This consists of one or more generally good heroes who must stop one or more generally evil villains within the context of a moral landscape that is revealed, which is to say that its epistemic justification comes from an otherworldly authority, and especially for action-adventure stories, fantasies, and children's entertainment, Abrahamic stories are the norm. Stories are prone to overcomplication, so it's unsurprising that a black and white top-down moral system is useful to the kind of story that aims to dazzle its audience with an unconflicted investment in heroic heroes and wonderful wonders. But this is also why stories that invert Abrahamic elements can be quite refreshing, translating very well into tragedy, drama, and horror. But it's not enough to simply tell a story from a villain's perspective or to let the bad guy win in the end. In order for a story to successfully match a satanic or anti-Abrahamic worldview, it must be sufficiently obvious that the purpose and impact of the story carries normative implications that directly oppose an Abrahamic worldview. Rape and revenge films fit the satanic model because it glorifies revenge and invites the viewer to revel in satisfaction of worldly evils, worldly punishment. The satanic moral landscape is deeply interested in individual characters' thoughts and experiences, and considerations of pain and pleasure, or valence, are seamlessly woven into the moral picture. The film's true secret takeaway is that authoritarian moral structures crumble when lies are exposed, as they are dependent on honesty, and we also see the savagery that those who outsource their morality are capable of. This is how the film successfully depicts a satanic character in a satanic light and therefore becomes itself the conventional inversion that Abrahamics warn others about. They understand that anyone who considers this inversion may become convinced of its truth, that the Abrahamic God is the true master of lies, and consequently spreads lies about Satan. The Truth About Eli is that it is actually a rape and revenge film disguised as a psychological thriller with supernatural elements. This becomes obvious when you break it down. Act 1. A usually female character is violently raped and may be further abused, tortured, or left for dead. Act 2. The character survives and may rehabilitate themselves. Act 3. The character exacts revenge and/or kills their rapists. There are 3 reasons one might hesitate to call Eli a rape and revenge film. First, and most importantly, although Eli is tortured and abused, there is no literal rape in the film. Second, over 3/4 of the film is dedicated to Act 1, while Acts 2 and 3 are almost entirely contained in the last few scenes of the film. And, least importantly, Eli is not female. Regardless, I maintain that this film is best understood as a rape and revenge film that serves a bold condemnation of Abrahamic morality, up to and including the hedonic rush of revenge that is both undeniably justified and undeniably satanic. And here's why. The procedures that Eli is being subjected to aim to remove his demonic powers, which they pretend is an illness, from him, and because the Abrahamics fear what he will one day do with it, and he is subjected to a new procedure each time the last one fails. The professionals involved do not disclose their real motives, which are religious, to Eli or his parents, instead offering fake medical justifications. Dr. Horn's nurses are actually nuns. Dr. Horn emerges as the main villain, and her myopic ends justify the means ethos leads to her savagely abused children without remorse. Because these abusers use lies in order to lull their victim into a false sense of security, Eli learns that he must defend himself, as he begins to understand the nature of Abrahamic evil expressed in 2 forms: savage hyperagency on the part of Dr. Horn and her assistants, and dithering, pathetic hypoagency on the part of his parents. In contrast, satanic virtue is expressed by the bold assertion of one's own right to exist, and a rejection of original sin. This is an obvious metaphor for circumcision. Because Abrahamic morality is fundamentally rooted in gynocentrism and misandry, they fear Eli's penis and what he might do with it. Under their revealed moral system, it is justified to prevent him from using his sexual power irresponsibly, even though he is only a child, and, as far as we know, has never and does not intend to assault anyone, sexually or otherwise. The practice of circumcision is aimed at weakening male sexuality and branding males as slaves, because Christians, Jews, and Muslims generally see men as nothing but potential rapists and/or potential slaves. They've since realized that this is terrible marketing, and since we've already established that the rape and genital mutilation of young boys is deemed justified, then it would seem bizarre to maintain that it is somehow wrong to lie about the reasoning behind the procedure. And just as circumcisions often require multiple follow-up procedures, it also leaves a pile of dead babies. Abrahamics go to great lengths to cover up the degree to which they are responsible for murdering babies. But when we finally see what Dr. Horn is hiding in her office, we find over 100 babies who die every year for no better reason than that their parents suffer from the crippling hypoagency of a moral system fundamentally based on arbitrary appeals to authority. So when Eli finally gains full control of his power and immediately uses it to turn our villains into burning upside-down crosses, there's little moral grayness. He's murdering a bunch of baby-killing rapists who deserve to suffer and die. Eli's reaction is the exact same way any infant male would react if only we had these demonic powers in real life. The film Eli is a rape and revenge film for the class of people who make up the overwhelming and primary victims of sexual violence, which are infant males. I love this film because it depicts Christians, Jews, and Muslims as the rape apologists and sociopaths that they are, and they are punished for it in an appropriately cruel and dramatic fashion. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope everyone has a nice day.